Hello, everybody. My name is AYO OALGOKE. Today we'll continue on our wisdom series, Pursue Wisdom. Um, we'll talk about part 4. I think the person posting to those who receive our mail, the person mistakenly wrote that last week was the last episode, but it's not. We still have a couple of episodes to go. This issue of wisdom, we have started talking about it, and I've been getting, positive feedback from those who have been listening. Just to do a quick recap, we have said pursue wisdom. Wisdom is the principal thing. Proverbs 4:7, therefore get wisdom. We said, what is wisdom? Wisdom is productive reasoning, ability to profess solution that surmounts all difficulties. We say if you follow God, you will be wise. If you pattern your life according to His word, you will be wise. And when we say His word, we mean His balanced word. And we started talking about some things that catalyze wisdom, some catalysts. We've talked about education. What is education? We define education as identifying proven methodologies and attempting them. So you identify patterns. You take a body of incidences, a body of truth, and then you identify patterns in them that have made them work. You refine them, you identify their weaknesses, and you figure out how to strengthen it. So we talked about institutional education and self-education. We also talked about another catalyst, reading books, asking questions. Daniel's 9:2. In the first year of his reign, I, Daniel, understood my books. So we've talked about the role of reading books and how that helps us. Today we're going to analyze discuss another pattern of wisdom, of another catalyst that help us to grow in wisdom. Please, if you've not listened to the other series, please listen to them and share this series with people. One of the things we've said is that wisdom is costly. That's why I say get wisdom, acquire it. Buy the truth, sell it not. Wisdom will cost you your sleep. Wisdom will cost you your friends, cost you isolation from some relatives, cost you some of your favorite show. You will not be able to do many things. It will cost you a lot to get wisdom. Wisdom comes from one of the prayers I like to pray is, Father, give me the discipline to pursue wisdom. It takes discipline to pursue wisdom. This discipline is not always easily gotten. So wisdom will cost you. It will cost you. For example, you listening to this, you could have been doing a million and one thing. You could have been watching some series on Netflix, but you chose to listen to this that will help increase wisdom. So it's costing you something as well. Today we'll talk about number 3 catalysts that help us to grow in wisdom, and this is very important, which is doing something that solves problem and learning from it. We've talked about education helps to increase wisdom, reading books, asking questions from those books. But now, number 3, we'll talk about doing something, executing a project, driving a course, and then learning from it. Doing something. One of the ways I personally always know that somebody has reached a level of maturity, and this is one of the litmus that I told someone, I said, when you get to a level of maturity, I will know. And the person was wondering, what will you see that will make you? I said, don't worry, I will know, because I don't want to tell the person and then the person go to it. But one of the things I look at that make me know, that this person is no longer a child, is that those people will do something that does not benefit them directly. They will start thinking of others. It's one of the litmus tests of knowing that someone has crossed to a level of maturity. When you see someone who starts saying, I notice that the children in my neighborhood are usually, and I'm thinking of doing, that person has achieved another level of maturity. It doesn't mean they are all knowing, but they have just crossed into a level of adulthood. One of the hallmark of adulthood is that you don't just care about yourself. If you see somebody who only care about themselves, they don't have a system of help for helping people who cannot repay them. They don't have, they are not driving any course. Everything is just, this is my master's. Once I get it, PhD is the next thing on my mind. After my PhD, getting a job is the next thing on my mind. There is a level of, they're just driving this selfishness. And well, some people can be having all this ambition, and the ultimate goal is so that I can build an institution in Africa. I want to get my PhD. After my PhD, I want to work in, do some work so that I can go back home and build a hand. That's good, because they're not just thinking about themselves, me, myself, and I. When people cross over to this level, when they break this barrier, just like Moses, and it entered into his heart to save his brethren. All this while, he has always been in the palace, enjoying Pharaoh's son and all of that. But a time came that it entered into his heart that do something for your brethren. That is one of the ways, litmus test, personally, by which I know someone has crossed into adulthood. For me personally, you have not crossed into adulthood until you have identified a way of solving the problem for others. Because adulthood is about selflessness. You have to start carrying others. If you see somebody who is not doing that, whether they are 40 or 35, they are still yet to embrace some aspects of maturity. So today we're talking about doing something, taking up a project that solves problem. Solving problem help you to grow in wisdom. When I was in school, I had a business that I was running. That business put some pressure on me because it was like something you have to have deliverable monthly. I was running an advertising magazine, the first ever of its kind in the history of the school, as far as I know, the first advertisement magazine. The magazine was just for advert. In those days there was no social media and all that. It makes me look like I'm old. In those days, no social media. But there were, but it wasn't prevalent. It was just new. So we started this advertisement magazine where students can place adverts. So people who bake cake and all of that, they pay us. Some you can buy a page, maybe you buy a page for maybe 5,000 naira. You can buy half, quarter, ribbon and all of that. People pay 500. We'll get you like a line. If you want your picture and your whatever, we can put it. If you're vying for president or things, we can put it. If you're organizing a show, we can put it there. You pay. And it was growing. Now this magazine has to be published every month. I can tell you that one of the things that helped my mental capacity to grow in school was that business, because it has to be produced every month. Sometimes we may have somebody who have only paid 500 naira, and we haven't gotten sponsors to pay like the heavy part, and we still have to publish it that month. We can't publish with 500. So we had to think of a solution. I was leading a team. I was the only lady. I called a team of, I think, five of us, six of us, five guys and just me. And we would brainstorm. How can we publish this thing? So we forced our brain to think. Taking up projects, solving problems, and learning from it is one of the ways of stretching your mental capacity. You see, I just watched a movie on Netflix, and that movie taught me that human beings, if we are stretched, we can come up with solution. The lady was in a hopeless situation. She was locked up in a container on the sea. She was hiding in a container. The container fell from the ship and fell into the sea, and she was pregnant. She delivered her baby in that container alone, and she had to figure out how to survive. You see people who are left in on an island, and then they start to reason, crack solution like for survival. That's when they will now notice that we can actually strike stone together. That's when innovation comes, when there is pressure. When there is pressure, that's when we make some of the greatest innovations, when we are forced to think with no alternative. So, we are saying that taking up a project and learning from it, solving problems, that is self-driven, not like, well, there is a level of wisdom you get when the bulk of the work doesn't stop at your desk. I mean, when you are working for someone, you also get some level of wisdom. But inside of you, you know your guy will always figure it out. So when you think about it and think about it, you can't figure out the solution. I work with people and they just send me messages and say, "Hi, I've tried to solve this thing. How do you think? Can you help me?" Because they feel like, well, the ball doesn't stop on my table. I can always pass it up to the boss, and the boss will have to go and figure it out. And they are right, because that's why you are the boss. So there is a limit to the wisdom you get when you are working for people. Because you know that I have a superior, I'll just pass it up. She should go and figure it out. They figure out the hard one, and then they keep increasing in wisdom. But you have to find something that the ball stops on your table. You have to find a project you are doing. Find something you are doing where the ball stops at your table, where you have to figure it out, where you don't have a superior. So my life has been filled with taking up such projects since I was young, actually. In fact, when I was in secondary school, I started a business. I started printing jotters. I will go to where they sell papers, large papers. I'll buy those papers. I'll go to, I was in, I think I was in about GS3 when I bought my first share. I remember I was wearing my school uniform. I walked up to the bank and I said, "I want to buy shares." And they looked at me like, "Do you have?" Yeah. And then I started selling jotters. My mom was one of my first customers. She just bought it. Then I took the jotters to school. I found out where they cut papers, where I could buy cardboard to make the front and the back, where I could, and then I'll gum it myself and then start selling it to my friend, until I think they started complaining that the gum was peeling and the thing was falling off. So I stopped it. But my ability to take up that sort of expanded my thinking. So I have to think, we're out of stock. I need to restock. Where can I get cheaper papers so that I can reduce the price? You see, that process stretches your reasoning. So the Bible says that the prophet told the woman, keep pouring the wine, the oil into the jar. He said, and when the jar finished, the oil also stopped flowing. You see, when we start to stretch our brain, stretch our mind, our brain to think, our mental capacity, we will keep producing more. It's like what physiologists and doctors call positive feedback mechanism. An example is breastfeeding. The more the baby suck, the more the milk is produced. So the more we use our brain, the more we apply it to solve problems, the more it gets developed. We develop our muscles by lifting weights and stretching it. We develop our mental muscle by or what we call our thinking muscles by taking up take up task, volunteer. When they say who will do this, say me. Who's going to lead this team? Say me. Who's going to say I will do that, and do it with the whole of your strength. Have you noticed that those who don't really use a lot of mental jobs where you don't require that doesn't require mental stretch can be easily replaced by automation? They can be quickly automated, because once you put the teller here, you clock it here. You put the teller here, you clock it here. You stay at the door, you say, "Welcome, sir." You smile. "Welcome, sir." You smile. They are easily replaced by machine and robots. But for jobs that take a lot of mental capacity, that is not just default, you know, it stretches you. If you see a human being who is doing work that is just, what do you do? Well, I just fill the tank, fuel attendant. I just fill the tank, fuel attendant. I just put it, and when it's where I pay them, you will notice that if that person doesn't find something else to stretch their mind, it will look as if their mental capacity is depreciating. So, this is why volunteering is helpful, especially when it is accompanied with perception. If you are volunteering in a place, you have to have a strong sense of perception so that you can learn. Volunteering gives you an opportunity to stretch your mental muscle. And this is why, you know, a lot of people in the developed countries, and even some people are even doing it in our dear country. They send their children to volunteer. Don't volunteer where you take orders. Volunteer where they can put you in charge of something, no matter how little it is. No matter how little it is. And in that thing, find a niche. Be creative with it. So don't just do the thing as a routine. It will help you to stretch your thinking muscle, your mental muscle. Remember that Moses tried to kill the Egyptians. He tried to deliver Israel by killing an Egyptian. One of the things he learned from that was that that is the wrong way to do it. Anytime we take up tasks, we take up actions, you are always learning. You will always learn from every situation. Sometimes you will learn what to do. Sometimes you will learn what not to do. Sometimes you will learn how to do it. Sometimes you will learn how not to do it. There's always lesson learned. It is these are things that build you. So you are building your work ethics. If you're working in a place, you come late, and then you are told that by coming late, this is not the policy. That's why I say when you volunteer or you work somewhere, you must also have a strong sense of perception. So we learn work ethics, we learn people relationship. If you look at people in school who volunteer or who are doing a task, I had a roommate who academically she wasn't all that, but she was doing a lot of things in school. Some of the people doing those things, they don't have the best result, but they excel after school. You notice that after school, they have developed strong people relationship such that they've been able to hear of an opportunity. Anytime there's new information in town about a type of visa that you can use to, because they have developed people skill. And you see, I have when I was in secondary school, there was a boy that was very good in our class. He used to get almost all the prizes. But he didn't really have, this strong people skill. He was always weird, always very weird. Like he did some violent plays and those kind of things. So he didn't really have people. I don't even think he has like close friends, you know. And sometime after school, I was just looking at everybody's pages. I was like, this boy. I was like, this boy. If he probably would have been in some places now if he had had some sort of people relationship, in my own estimation. But my point is that getting yourself out there, doing tasks, help you to build things. You will always learn. Either you learn what to do or you learn what not to do. So in the process of taking up tasks, you build your work ethics, you build people relationship, you build all the soft skills that that are needed to succeed. So that's why the Bible says, whatsoever your hand finds to find to do, right? Do it well. Ecclesiastes 9 verse 10. Whatsoever your hand finds to do it with all your might. Do it. I used to have this um younger friend who reached out to me that she would like me to mentor her and all. So we scheduled meeting. We're always meeting, I think once in 2 weeks or thereabout. One time I told her that we don't have to have this meeting again. And she felt a little bad, like, no now, am I inconveniencing you? And I said, no, I've observed you. I've observed what you do. This person I'm talking about, She started an organization. She has people that work with her. She has even started, like mentoring people. So I said, you've been set on the right path. Because I see that she's taking up task. She's exercising her thinking muscles. So I said, we don't have to hold meetings again. It's like when somebody has turned their steering to the right direction. You just know the only way they can go is the right direction. So I said, you have hit the nail on the head. You have taken a task and you are building systems. You can just be touching base maybe once in 3 months, once in 6 months, or things like that, but you're good. Because once you get to that point where you are able to set your brain to the place where you can be taking up tasks, you can be stretching it, you can be engaging in it, you will always. One of the things I've noticed personally about bankers in Nigeria, and I can think of a lot of bankers that I know, is that when they quit banking, whatever they start always excel. In many cases, when they quit, not when they fire them, when they resign from the job, I noticed that whatever business they start, whatever decision they make, whatever they venture into, especially when they now start their own thing, always do well. Think about some of the bankers who resigned though, not like they were fired. And I think one of the reasons is because the way the banking system in Nigeria works, they always put them under pressure to meet targets. Many of them are put in a situation to use their brain to think. And that's why these jobs that give people targets, as much as I don't like it, but I think one of the thing it does to those people, especially marketers, is that it puts something on them to think, to use their brain, to be creative, because you have a target or else you lose your job. Your promotion is dependent on it. So people are forced to think, to collaborate and all of that. So we stop here today. Catalyst for increasing wisdom. Take up a task. Take up a task that will cause you to think. Start a project, no matter how small it is, that will force you to think. Project that you cannot easily predict, force you to think. Some of the things you won't be able to figure it out. You will learn to collaborate. It will force you to collaborate. You learn to collaborate. You learn to talk to others. Take up a task and give it whatever you find to do it well. Volunteer somewhere, take the lead on something, let the ball stop on your table. Don't be quick to pass it to your boss. Check Google, figure it out. Use that intellectual muscle there. All right, pray about it, figure it out before you pass the ball to your boss, and it will help you to increase in wisdom. All right, till next time, see you later. Bye.